Welcome back to GaleForceWins Season 2.
The GaleForceWins podcast is proudly sponsored by Newfound Marketing, a digital marketing agency located in St. John's, Newfoundland. Visit our website at newfoundmarketing.ca to find out how we can help your business grow. Newfound Marketing, a complement to your marketing team.
So, Judit, we had a wonderful journey to Hungary, and thank you very much for opening up not only your home, but your country to us. I think it really gave Gerry and I a great perspective on what Hungary is, and we had the privilege of bringing our boys with us, and I think it opened their eyes to what Hungary is, and I can't wait to share Hungary with the rest of the world and all of our followers, because it's a place that you got to go to. There's no doubt about it. Hey, Gerry.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what we're going to do here now, and I was saying to you guys before we started recording, is that years ago, you used to have a photo album from a trip and everyone would sit around. Well, here's a way digitally that we're going to share our photo album. We're going to go down through some of the photos and talk a little bit about the trip. And I think it'll be very interesting for people to get a sense of Hungary. And I think that's what the idea behind this is. Let's showcase Hungary.
So let's kick it off, Gerry. We got off the plane. We were tired and hungry, and we went to Judit's house. Judit, take us from there. What happened there?
So my mom was preparing the dinner for you guys for like 3 days ahead. And she was very excited that she wanted to make something very Hungarian. So we had the stuffed cabbage, which we make made of sauerkraut. And potatoes, and this really interesting, it's called portobello crepes, and the crepes are filled with minced meat, and then it's coated, and then it's fried in oil, also pan fried. And we had delicious dessert as well. It's typical to Hungary. We eat.
I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry again.
So that's called dobos cake because it's like a drum. It looks like a drum.
Judit, those cabbage rolls were very distinct for sure. What separated those from just the everyday cabbage rolls?
I think it's the smoky taste. Because it's made of smoked, actually it's smoked rib as an extra flavorful, and the sauerkraut.
It's a sauerkraut. The cabbage is a different type of cabbage, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's almost like it is sauerkraut, but it's not the shredded sauerkraut, but it's the whole cabbage.
Now, to keep you two on track, we're going to have to move on. All I can say is that was an incredible introduction. That was November 5th. November 6th, Judit, where did we go?
Oh, we set the bar pretty high at the very beginning because we went to the Parliament building, and the Parliament building is just like beautiful, like stunningly beautiful building. And we had the tour inside and outside with our lovely tour guide, Aniko. And really, it's one of the most beautiful buildings in Budapest, 100%. Maybe it's one of the most beautiful buildings, not just in Budapest, but in Europe as well.
I would argue the world. It was an incredibly beautiful building. And what I really enjoyed about that was her explanation of this huge line with a snake around the line's back, which was a really interesting explanation of how Hungary is the line, and they had to be careful that somebody was going to bite their neck. And here we are. GaleForceWins is on location in Budapest, Hungary. What a privilege it is to be here in their city to learn a little bit about the history and meet some Canadians that are here. But first, we're going to start with a tour of the Parliament buildings. Aniko, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, welcome. Thank you. My name is Aniko, and I run my agency for welcoming guests and hosts for it's Pan and Voyage. I have 4 children, and I have studied tourism and trade, and managing people. I think it's not only for tourists but also for my family,
right.
And I love it really. So I live here in Budapest. I'm Hungarian, And I think that it's very nice that we call Budapest the Pearl of Hungary and the Pearl of the Danube, because you have many sites to discover. Hungarians, they didn't always live here, because we are a tribe which come from the east, and this is why in the patterns of the construction or in decoration you will discover the Eastern style. Then we are here on the former Roman Empire's territory, but we are not the descendants of Romans, but we still have the spa culture. Also because we have more than 120 hot springs under the capital and more than 400 in the country, but also because we had some Turkish occupation for 150 years, so we kept this spa culture. The cuisine, the Hungarian cuisine, remains with the paprika, which also comes from the Turks. And in our construction, we can see the Italian Renaissance, because we had some common kingdom with them, and the Habsburgs, which is a very famous Austrian imperial family. They were ruling for 300 years on Hungary, until we can finally have our freedom, we can say. But it didn't last for long, because unfortunately, after the Second World War, we were part of the communist bloc for 40 years. So all this melting pot of these 12 centuries give the Hungarian culture and taste and the way of living.
So, Aniko, where are we stood right now?
Now we are on the Kossuth Square, which is a main place because it's a parliament building is to be found here. This is the house of the country, as we call it in Hungarian, Országház.
Right.
But we have 3 buildings because there was a construction competition in the end of the 19th century for one building of the main deputy's place where they could rule and take decisions. The first prize is the current parliament. It costed 10 times more as we projected, but we said that finally we have freedom, as I said, in the end of the 19th century, so no money counted. The second prize was this building, which is the major court, and the third one is the other building, which is the Ministry of Agriculture today. Wow. So we start with the visiting of the Parliament building, but before I would like to tell you about a very emotional and important statue.
Let's take a walk over and
Hungary has done many wars, revolutions, and we always had to defend our territory. It's very important that we didn't come here just by chance, but according to our legend, it was a territory which was promised to Hungarians. And in the 9th century, we were led by a golden deer to come here. This is why it's more than a territory, it's a homeland for us. This is why we really have to protect and we really have to struggle for it. So during the revolutions and also during the First and Second World War, all people went to war for protecting with their heart and not only with the weapons. Here we can see the lion, which represents Hungary, and you have a snake which is biting the neck of the lion. It's very important by behind, because we are usually a victim of betrayal, or we don't count well the situation.
I see.
But we defend, and we really feel ourselves very brave. Under it, you can see in the first line the minister who had to enter the First World War because we were part of Austro-Hungarian monarchy, and our monarch, our king, was the same person, the same ruler as the Austrian king. And the Austrian ruler wants to go to war, so we have to go also, although the parliament voted against it. And on the two sides, you can see the Hungarian people representing the countryside. You can see they are laboring people. The father and the young son goes to war, and the face is not representing fear, but proudness that we are protecting what is ours. On the other side, we will see the city inhabitant. You will see it's a bit different. Countryside is always a rougher world, and people are more defending the country because the land stays where it is. In the city, you can see they go to war, but don't forget that the people who live in city, they don't have land. They have money in the bank or they have a factory. So it could be maybe established elsewhere as well, but they go because they want to defend the family. What is very emotional is the mom who shows the child to the father, but the father does not want to see. He doesn't want to just have the memory, because he knows that maybe he will never come back and he will not see his son growing up.
Well, that's a great start to our day, and now we're going to go inside the Parliament buildings and learn a little bit about the history of Hungary. So just before we go, though, Danube is dividing two cities. We're stood on Buda now.
Pest.
We're stood on Pest.
Buda is hilly, Pest is flat, and it's the source of water and the source of fire. Because water, it's aquincum, for example, aqua. Mm-hmm. Aquincum was the name during the Roman Empire. Then it became voda, and this is what became Buda, which means water. And Pest, you had the forgings who were preparing swords or horse iron, and it was very easy because the Danube is flowing here, right. So it's very easy to have those kind of manufacturers here. This is why Pest flat, the eastern part, Buda hilly, the western part, and only 7 bridges are connecting the two for 700 million people, 1.7 million people.
Wow. Okay, let's go inside.
Yes. We are here in the corridor, which is joining from the staircase to the main room. Here you have some Hungarian craftsmen in porcelain, pyrogranite. This is to symbolize that the parliament belongs to everyone, from the lowest level of people living in Hungary until the king, and to all kind of jobs. They have their voice, and they are really represented here by the deputies. We have a lower chamber and an upper chamber. In the middle you have the dome hall, which is to be found under the dome, and the two sides of the parliament are symmetric. So the Hungarian Parliament building was inspired by the London Parliament building. If you see the design, it is a bit also next to a river, and it was very important to have only Hungarian material and only Hungarian people working on the construction. The architect was very famous for many other buildings. We can see his bust in the staircase on the right, but he could not leave, unfortunately, the inauguration of the Parliament itself. But for the big feast of 1,000 years anniversary, 1896, he could still be here. This is the main staircase. It's here that diplomatic people and big politicians arrive to enter the dome hall. And on the other side, you have the room which was already used during the Austro-Hungarian Empire with original traduction cabins, because many people lived in Hungary of many tongues, and this is why it was important to make the translation. We have nearly everything which belongs to Hungary, except for the marble columns, which are unique, so mono columns. They are the gift of the Swedish king for Hungary, for this magnificent building. So we have come out from the main dome hall where we keep the crown of Hungary. It is very special for us because the crown is a personality and the king is ruling in the name of the crown. It has been many times put under the ground, or it has been many times changing or traveling to some places, and this is why the cross is a bit aside now. We have arrived now to the other hall, which leads to the deputies' hall. Here also you have the different people who represent Hungary, also the craftsmen and also sciences, just like philosophy or theology. If we see the carpet, this is the largest hand-knotted carpet of the world, with more than, I think, 100,000 knots per square meter, which makes it extremely valuable. And if you walk on it, we can see how really nice it is. Now we arrive to the entrance hall of the deputy room. We will enter, but beforehand I would like to show you the cigar holders, because at the 19th century time the deputies could smoke the cigar, and if a speech was not very interesting, then they could just come out and smoke a cigar. And if a speech was very interesting, you could recognize it because the cigars were very long, since no one was smoking them. Let's enter the hall now. We have now space for 200 people here, but beforehand it was much wider, since today Hungary has 10 million inhabitants, but before 1920 we used to have more than 20 million. This part of the parliament is symmetric to the other part, so the upper chamber where we are now is symmetric, except for the color of the carpet, which used to be blue here because of the blue blood of aristocracy. On the other side it will be red because of the proletariat, and the paintings on the wall are different. If you see the deputies' seats, you can see some hole from where the heating is coming. It means that already in the 19th century we had some air conditioning. Heating from the hot spring came from the square, and by ventilation it could heat this chamber. And if you see up, you can see that there are a double ceiling, so it went outside in front of those windows. It was the same in summer. We had some big blocks of ice which were brought to a special chamber under the parliament, and with ventilation an air of 20 degrees were coming in the deputies' room, so that all year round our taker of decision could think in 20-22 degrees, so that they can take the best decision possible.
Other thing about that particular day was, if you recall, she lost her pearl earring. Wasn't that cool?
And we found it. It wasn't cool that she lost it, but what was almost incredible that she found it.
Her earring is gone here. Look in the video I'm showing. So
yeah. There's 40 kilometers of walkways. And anyway, we searched back for her earring, and lo and behold, when we stopped and had almost given up, right down by our feet was her earring. It was an unbelievable thing.
This is it here. Look. So we'll show the video. Judit, you're putting it back in her ear there.
Yeah.
Incredible that we found that. All right.
Selfie, let's go.
So tell us what happened.
I lost my earring, and it's very special for me because it's a pink pearl which I received for the birth of my only daughter. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter, and it was really extremely special. And because of this, I just lost it. Yeah. And now we did this, not 20 kilometers, what we could have done in the building, but we did the tour again, and our magnificent guide, he found it here under this table. So I'm extremely happy.
All right, moving on.
We went to the, it's called Városliget, the city park. And the city park, where the zoo and the Gundel Restaurant is in the city park?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the city park.
So we are now in another place in the city wood. You have the castle, which also was built for the millennium of 1896. But originally all the buildings were built only for around 10 years. This one was also in wood, but Hungarians liked it so much that they decided to rebuild it in solid materials. You will see that it is representing all styles of construction existing in Hungary at that time. So we will have a Roman-style church, then we have a Gothic-style building, a Renaissance footprint on one balcony, and then a Baroque palace. It's a museum, so this is an agricultural museum, so all the rooms are connecting inside all those styles of building from outside. All around it you have a lake, because the castle itself has a design of the hunting castle of a great Hungarian king whose name is Matthias, and who did a lot of things. Among many of all, he built the main church of Buda. If we look back to the Széchenyi spa, it's not so far away, and under here this grass we have the hot spring from where all this 6,000 square meter of water is erupting every day, and it is to be found 1,256 meters deep. So it's really. So this castle is the Vajdahunyad castle, is to be found in Transylvania. Today it's outside Hungarian border. This was the hunting castle for King Matthias, and the entrance is really reflecting the same entrance as it used to be, but it's written on it Magyar, it's Hungarian, Mezőgazdasági Museum, Agricultural Museum. What we can see right in front of us is the Baroque Palace. You can see the balustrades and the statues on it. This first entrance gate is from the 15th century reproduction. So as I mentioned, the palace was not here but in Transylvania, but it's only for the millennium that they built it here to show the beautiful styles of construction through really existing buildings. On the right hand side you can see the Gothic windows, and we can already smell the hot wine smell with cinnamon and with orange, because we like very much to drink some hot wine while we do our walks in the city. And we also have a Renaissance style. King Matthias is to be found on the relief on the wall in white, and Beatrix, the wife, with the Renaissance style balcony. On the other side you have the Roman style church, Jesus and the Apostles, and the garden of a convent. This church can receive couples for marriage, so it's really a place where you can have your wedding. Afterwards, behind you have the reception place for a restaurant, and all these square can be used for private concerts. It means that here the acoustic is fantastic because you are on under the stars really, and you can feel the music with beautiful view. So we have Mozart or Bach or many composers whom pieces are played here. We are a very musical country, so we love music and dances. Hungarian folklore music and Hungarian dances are very famous, and also at school the children already learn, so it's obligatory for children, for example in some schools for gymnastic lessons to have traditional dance, or in singing lessons to play a instrument of music or to listen to those music and to recognize them. On the left we will soon arrive to a statue. This statue is wearing a cap. We don't know who he is. His name is Anonymous. He was a chronicler, so we can see a big book in his hand with a pen, and he was writing the history and the mythology of Hungarians in the 12th century. And he always signed Anonymous because he said, it's not me who should be famous, but the past of Hungarians. And we say he's the first chronicle of the Hungarians. If you see, the pen is shining because according to the students of Budapest, if you touch the pen before the exam, you will have a very successful exam. like this. Behind us, it's a big park, because we go on with the city park. And the House of Music was built here. 2 years ago they started constructions, and also an exhibition place. So we go on, if we found the others, this direction, and we will discover the beauties of the city park.
And then we had a look at the House of Music, and we were just walking in downtown. And then eventually we ended up going to Gundel Restaurant, that it's over 100 years old, a very famous Hungarian restaurant. That's a different building.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, that's the New York
That's in
restaurant.
downtown, yeah. No, just scroll down. You go ahead. We had lunch. We had lunch before. Yes, that's Gundel Restaurant.
Amazing.
The Gundel Restaurant was excellent. I mean, it was old school dining for sure. Table service was remarkable. The food was remarkable.
And the gypsy music.
The gypsy music was fantastic as well. And funny thing about that restaurant was Gerry and I almost knocked the power out in the whole restaurant.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first night we went to record. For some reason, we could not get the electrical system to work. Now, this restaurant's 110 years old, something like that.
Yeah, it's over 100.
Incredible restaurant. All right.
It's an absolute must if you go to Budapest to dine there, because the food was truly spectacular.
Well, let me show a couple of pictures. Look at that.
Oh, and do you remember that they're pouring the soup? The
Yes.
goulash. The goulash is a soup in Hungary. The goulash is not a stew. Well, this is I believe it's a roasted pepper soup. This one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
paprika, yeah.
That's actually, that one
And-
wasn't at the Gundel restaurant. That was a different restaurant. Maybe it's this one.
Yes, that's right, from lunch. And so the goulash in Hungary is a soup. It's not a stew. So it's more
There it
fluid. It's more liquid in it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's goulash.
There's goulash right there. Look at that.
That's something.
And again, classic table service there, eh? That's pretty tasty. Yeah.
It's delicious. The
Good.
beef.
The Gundel Restaurant opened in 1894.
Okay, so here are the musicians. Tonight you will see. Köszönjük, and then we will go up to the here you have the carriage. So after having seen the restaurant, we are now up at the first floor. This used to be the private apartment for the Gundel family. This is a private room. It's called today even the family room. You have some private pictures on the wall from the family. Gundel Charles, Gundel John. It still belongs to the family, so it's the most ancient restaurant, which is still family owned. The aristocratic family in Hungary always had a kind of boudoir to be able to talk separately, and always a ballroom. And in the ballroom you had the kitchen, which just sent up the food so that it doesn't smell. This part was the dining room. After having had the dinner, they could go to the ballroom for dancing. And of course, this ballroom was open to people who did not use the same staircase as the family, because as I mentioned, this was the private apartment for the Gundel family. So there is another staircase where the guests could come up from the street. This is it. This is the ballroom for dancing. Today it is used for ceremonies or for companies who have their anniversary, for example, it can be rented. This is the royal staircase where the guests can come up, and you can see on one side a king of Hungary, and on the other side the Queen of Hungary. Sisi is very, very light, so Queen Elizabeth. And of course you have a balcony from where you can also have some champagne or admire the zoo.
So where would the family sleep?
Now we go back to the private part. This is really to show you the ballroom place. And all the houses on the Andrássy Avenue which we saw, they have this part at the bottom. It means that they did not have a restaurant, so this is why they had an entrance hall, a ballroom with boudoir, fumoir and the dining place, and separately on the top they had the sleeping room. There was a door here, of course, and here all along you had the family life for the bedrooms, for the small saloons. For example, we will see one of them. Of course, a mirror is very important in every place. Before we go away, we have to see whether we are smart enough and beautiful enough. This is an example of the bedrooms. Today, of course, all of them can be rented for private meetings, as a boardroom, or for a dinner or for a business lunch. This is called a music hall. Scholti, he's the musician whose portrait was here on the wall. The other bedroom is named the Zsolnai room. Zsolnai is the porcelain, which one of our porcelains, because we have 3 porcelain manufacturers, Herendi for the royal court, Zsolnai, which we can see here, and also Hollóházy. Here you can see the fireplaces, Zsolnai, and also the flower pot decorations are from Zsolnai porcelain. This is the same porcelain as the service for the dishes which we saw, but with different patterns. Now we arrive to the Herendi room, so this is the other porcelain of Hungary. This used to be for the royal family of Franz Joseph and Sisi, and also Queen of England in the 19th century, Victoria. She decided to order a 200 pieces collection of this Herrendi porcelain. She loved it so much. We arrive at the back of the places, and here you have a small room. This was not a bedroom, but it was already the winter garden, as the family called it. They could chat here, so this was a small private living room when they just wanted to talk on their own. And here you have the winter garden. Of course, the balcony is in communication with all the bedrooms and also the ballroom, so that people can go from here to the other rooms whenever they wanted to. Now, the garden belongs to the restaurant, but originally, behind the trees, we have the zoo, which starts. The zoo was lasting until here, so you really could have the elephants in the garden.
That's why the logo has elephants.
Exactly, that is why we have the Gundel logo with elephants. And there you can see the pyrogranite roof of the main entrance of the zoo. This is also from porcelain. And we have many beautiful decoration in the zoo. For example, the House of Elephants is in porcelain. Or we have the House of the Giraffes, which also has a long neck. Or you have the rock for the monkeys. We really try to feel every animal for himself at home, so we give a comfort for the animals.
So in the summer, can you eat out there?
This part, so the upper part, is only for renting in private. You can eat outside, but in the garden, which we just saw, so it's beautiful under the trees. Here it's more for events, for groups or for business lunches, or also to do a summary, for example, for a year. Now, of course, you have the flip chart, and you have every audio items to do presentation. We are now in the cigar room because, of course, end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century, it was very important to have a separate place for men. Only men were allowed to enter into cigar rooms. So it was very important to chat, usually about business or about derby also here. Of course, it is communicating with outside directly because it was just like in a steam bath if many people were here. But it was absolutely important that all restaurants which are prestigious have a place for the cigar. If you come here to see the pictures, you will see the prestigious people who came already to this restaurant, some of them. Queen Elizabeth II, Pope, the Habsburg, Georg, Putin. Also Margaret Thatcher made her visit here. Yes, Queen of England and of Canada. Elizabeth II.
So
moving from food, we went into wine.
Yeah, and the next morning, we left early to a 2.5-hour drive from Budapest towards the Austrian border, and that's called Lake Balaton. The Balaton is the largest lake in Europe, and not only in Hungary, but in Europe. And it's a very exciting and interesting place. The volcanic mountains in the back, the hills in the back, and then Robert Gilvesy. He has his winery at the Lake Balaton. That was our first official interview.
And it was fantastic. It is a beautiful part of Hungary for sure. And what's really cool about that lake is that it's really only conducive to small boats because it's so shallow. And also, there seems to be a reluctance to have power boats there because they want to keep it nice and quiet. So there's an awful lot of sailboats around there. What a beautiful place to visit.
It's very popular, especially during the summer. When the summers are typically very hot in Hungary, we have, in mid-May, we have 30 degrees, 35 degrees, and then up until the end of August, we had 30, 35, sometimes even 40 degrees. So Lake Balaton is the place where everyone wants to go to have fun, for doing some water sports and all kinds of fun things. And not the least, tasting the wine.
Judit, and it was also cool that it used to be a location where the East and West used to meet, right?
Exactly. Before the end of the communist regime, then the Germans, the North and South, the family members met at Lake Balaton.
Wow. What a cool place.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And then we had this dinner at this gorgeous panoramic view restaurant. Do you remember that?
Oh, I sure do.
I remember. Not a great picture of my son there, but there we are. That's where we ate, wasn't it? That was something else. This is the first 2 days, Allan, that Judit brought us on, and we were just absolutely overwhelmed, frankly.
Yeah, 100%. That was like the View restaurant in St. John's, except it was right in the middle of Hungary. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm flipping back and forth a little bit here now to some of the photos of the Gilvesy interview, which we can't wait to showcase.
100%. And then that night, Judit, we were treated to an incredible performance. What a beautiful night that was. Tell us about
the concert. Yeah, the Mario Biondi concert. Jazz and like his smoky voice. It was really fun.
Yeah, it really was. And what a nice venue that was.
It's a theater, right? It's not an arena or some sport facility. It was a theater for a concert.
Try to take it easy on yourself.
So the next morning, tell us about that.
We went to New York Cafe. We had our second interview with Cindy Hsu. Cindy is a classical concert organizer or manager. She's working out of New York from the Carnegie Hall, but she is currently living in Hungary, in Budapest, because she just fell in love with the city. And after living she's originally from Taiwan, and after living in Vancouver, moving to New York, she decided that she wants to live in Budapest.
Yeah, she had a wonderful outlook on life for sure. She was just incredibly engaging, and and her love for Budapest was really, really quite impressive.
Allan,
her story.
Oh my God. And I will say this, that, the people that we interviewed, incredible. But as we moved around to each location, to be listening to people tell their inspiring stories, but to be in locations like this cafe, which is world renowned, is Allan, I found it almost overwhelming. So you're listening to the person talk, but behind you and behind them is just this incredibly overwhelming location. Look at that.
Well, the New York Cafe was something spectacular. Bourdain featured it in his travels through Budapest as well, and I'm so glad that we were there. What an impressive place.
And do you remember, Gerry, when the pianist who was playing classical music in the background while Cindy was talking, and then this, for some strange, ungodly reason, the music just matched the topics that we were talking about? That was amazing.
Well, I was very impressed with your organizational skills when you pulled that off. I'm trying to find the piano. You can't see it there, but it's there in behind one of the columns.
That afternoon, Judit, you had some work to attend to back in Newfoundland.
That's right.
And we made our way to the House of Terror, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. What a complex story of Hungary's past in the last century. But what an incredible museum to capture it all in such in a really concise fashion. And I think that probably was a highlight for my son anyway, that particular museum. It was really quite incredible. So sorry for interrupting, but for those of the viewers who don't know, the House of Terror is basically the story about the Nazis in Hungary, and when they left, the Nazis left and the communists came. So two oppressive regime, and that's people were interrogated, tortured, and that's the building where everything happened in those dark centuries. Yeah, and that's exactly right, Judith. It was it all happened in that building, and that was even the more wild thing about it, because as you go into the basement of the building, the chambers and stuff where they tortured people were still there. But what an incredible story, and really it didn't end until 89, so it's not that far in the distant past. So it was very, very intriguing day for sure.
Yes. And then the next day we had this great opportunity to go to Budapest airport. And we were walking through the airport with our guide, Robert, who was excellent. And you guys made a comment about our airports. What did you have to say about the airport, Allan?
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled around the globe and I've been in lots of airports over the years, but I have to tell you, Budapest airport was incredible. I mean, it was clean. It was ultra modern, a very user friendly for really all age groups. Do you know what I mean? And what a welcoming airport to a country. I just found it to be very user friendly and a real jewel in the crown of Hungary, that airport for sure.
Well, I'm going to say something, Judah. I don't know if I had a chance to tell you. So on my flight home to Canada, I sat next to a pilot, an Air Canada pilot, and he asked me a little bit about, you know how you get into a bit of conversation. So I told him that I was in Hungary, and he said, "Oh," and I said, I told him a little highlight was being on the tarmac at the airport, and he's looking at my pictures, and you know what he said to me? He said, "Wow, not many people get access to an airport like you guys did." Showing him these pictures here. Like it was incredible. I got to show everyone the one picture that made me really happy was you guys running. Let's see if I can find that one on the tarmac. Let's see. That one was fun. But again, Allan, being given the opportunity, here it is here, to be given the opportunity to be able to do stuff like this. That's Aniko and Judit running. Look at that.
Running on the runway.
Look at the smiles. So
that
again,
was super fun.
Incredible airport. So then we sat with the chief financial officer, I believe it was, Allan.
Yeah, that's him, Mike Carlson. He is one of the board members of the Canadian Chamber in Hungary. He's been living in Hungary for over 3 decades now, and he's a fantastic guy. He's very supportive, very kind. He's a true Canadian, with a true Canadian spirit. Fun, super sweet guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of a behind the scenes look of what's going on for GaleForceWins in Hungary.
Yeah. We left,
and that's the VIP lounge at Budapest Airport.
Yeah, that's the VIP lounge. It was pretty spectacular. The whole airport, that whole journey into that airport and the behind the scenes was really quite incredible. And as I say, I mean, what an entry into the country when you come through something like that. It's very, very welcoming. After the airport, if that wasn't beautiful enough, off we go to the Buda Castle. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we went to the Buda Castle. We had a nice lunch at it's called Aranybástya Restaurant. It's the Golden Rook restaurant in English. That's a very, it has a scenic view. It's beautiful. So
we are really excited to be here in I guess you'll describe where we are exactly, but Judit, just give us a little sense of where we are from your perspective, and then I guess you can ask Ever to introduce himself.
We're here in Budapest at the Aranybástya Restaurant. We're on the Buda side, in the Buda Castle exactly. And this is a wonderful place. I wanted to come here for so long, and I'm so happy to be here. And Gábor, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about this beautiful place.
First of all, thank you very much for coming. It's so nice that you managed to come here after such a long time that you wanted to come. I'm Gábor Keresztes. I'm the director of F&B of the Aranybástya Restaurant. And the reason why everything around us is unique is the history. So here, if you look around, every single part of the building has a piece of history, but the whole building is brand new. So this building was originally built to Lónyai Menyhért, and after Lónyai Menyhért sold to Hatvani Ferenc had a huge art collection as well here, and it took 5 years to manage to organize everything in this building to store here. And unfortunately, like most of the other buildings in this side of the city, on Buda side especially, got bombed during the Second World War, and this building got bombed as well. But before has been destroyed, basically has been, they distill everything from here, the whole art collection as well. The art collection, you saw even a book about it, what tell every single part, every single room individually, what piece of art was on the wall, included furnitures as well, for example. And here, around the end of 1990s, someone had the idea to build something here, and took such a long time to get done this building, but at the end of 2021 the building has been finished and opened as home of the Batthyány Lajos Foundation and home of the Aranybástya Restaurant as well.
Were you saying that it was it empty for a period of decades, or did you? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, after the Second World War, like at 46, they demolished the leftover as well of the building.
So it was like bombed to the ground.
Yes.
Is this part of the original building?
This is part of the original Aranybástya, the Golden Bastion. The Golden Bastion, what is the name of the restaurant as well, is from the unfortunate 2 years when Turkish people were inside the castle district and we were outside of the castle district. They did build bastions around the castle district, and this is the leftover of that part. So it's way older than the original building. This one was under the ground when the original building was built here.
So what year approximately would these stones be from?
Well, what is behind me is you can see 3 different layers. Yes. of the foundation of the original Golden Bastion as well, and the bottom layer is from the 13th century, and we are going up to the 16th.
So you're a restaurant manager, but we're putting you on the spot now as an archaeologist, I guess, are we? It's not the first time you've been asked that question, I guess.
Well, it never happened before.
Well, you did a good job as an archaeologist. I was lucky enough to have lunch here today. Judit and Aniko set us up. I had the beef It was absolutely delicious. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for the restaurant and the dishes that you're serving.
It's not just about the food. Is something what we want to create. We want to create a space for people who just live around us or coming from abroad as well. A space where they can come just for a discussion. They can come for a glass of international wine or champagne, enjoy a cheese plate with it, and want to create something what is unique with the part of the history what was in the building, but unique with the view as well, and unique with every single small piece what we have in this building. For example, in the restaurant, I'm starting from a little bit far away from your question.
That's fine.
So in the restaurant, if you look around, you can see even the carpet on the floor, what is the original map from the part of the century when the original building was here. Is like a Google Maps on a carpet, but from 100 years ago. So every single small details are about the history, about the traditions what we have here. And the food want to create something similar. Most of the items, for example, we have the cheese plate on the menu, what is made from cheese selection from Carpathian Basin. If you check the new menu, you could see a couple of traditional Hungarian dishes as well. But this place always asked to be a little bit international as well. So it was a huge question, how can we create something what is international, but we are able to show what is the Hungarian cuisine. And the beef chicks, what you had, for example, is something similar as well. It's a little bit international, but it's a little bit Hungarian as well.
It had a Hungarian twist on it. Mm-hmm. It was delicious. I've never ever tasted a beef cheek that delicious before.
Thank you very much. I will tell the chef definitely.
I agree. And back to your answer to my question about the cuisine, the atmosphere, Judith, I felt it the moment we walked in. It was spectacular. You just feel welcome. All your staff make eye contact. We sat down. The opening dish was a soup.
Beef
soup. I love the way it was served in a what would you call, not a bowl, but
it's a red pot.
Yeah,
a pot.
It
was served in a pot, and the staff took the top off, and it actually, and I'll have a picture of it up, but it was on a plank, a wooden plank, stamped, I guess, with the logo of the restaurant.
Yes.
Just really the way I felt being served here was incredible. Well, how did you feel?
Yeah, absolutely exquisite. The food, the service, and not to mention the Parliament building. So we were sitting at a table where we could just see the Parliament building, and we were so fortunate to be here having our dessert while they were turning the lights on the Parliament building. So can you imagine that the sun is setting and the lights are on and you're having the delicious meal and just looking out of the window and see this beautiful panoramic view of the Parliament building and the Danube. Yeah. It is truly a remarkable place in Budapest.
You mentioned that it was very nice when you walked in and you felt welcomed here. It's something what is very important as well, that if you look the building from outside, some of the people are, maybe it's too fancy for me. Mm-hmm. I don't really want, I'm not dressed like that. This place doesn't want to be like that. This place, if you check the interior design as well, we put tonneau style chairs as well, just to make a little bit softer, to be more cozy for everyone, say like that.
So you started here at this restaurant how long ago?
Well, we opened one and a half years ago.
So briefly, prior to that, what was your job? Where were you 5 years ago?
Well, 2 years ago I was already here, more or less 2 years ago, when the building has been finished. So I saw every single walls when it has been painted, and sometimes even the wall was not there. But I just moved back from abroad, so I spent 10 years in London, I worked in different high-end hotels and restaurants.
How does it make you feel to be here in this incredible restaurant?
Well, as my plan was always to be in a restaurant like this. And I was so lucky because in London I saw beautiful restaurants, beautiful buildings, beautiful hotels. And I always had the dream that, okay, I really want to work in a place in Budapest, a similar place in Budapest. And I found it.
Judit, what would you say to summarize your experience here today?
That I would recommend to everyone to come here. Doesn't matter if you're looking for a fancy restaurant or if you're just coming here for the view or having a nice meal or just a glass of wine. I think it's worth a try for everyone.
I agree. Can you pronounce the name of the restaurant for my Canadian friends watching this once again?
It's Aranybástya.
Aranybástya.
Almost.
Almost. Let me try again. Aranybástya.
Yes?
Better?
Getting there? Yeah.
Getting there.
Well, all I can say is that GaleForceWins is incredibly privileged to have been in your presence and be served by your staff today. This was truly one of the most incredible experiences that I've had in a culinary experience in my life, and I appreciate what you do every day. Keep doing it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You had a chance to do actually 2 interviews there, right? Yeah, we're having lunch. 2 interviews, one with my husband, Albert, who probably most of Newfoundlanders or people in St. John's and vicinity would know for sure that he owned Albert Tree Services for 9 years, I believe, if not more. And he has a lot of friends and he knows almost everyone in St. John's.
I'm trying to find the pictures. Oh, yeah, here they are. Because I joked with Albert that if anyone can see this, we had a struggle with the weather that day, Judit. It was cool, wet, and foggy. Does that remind you, Allan, of any weather that you might be used to?
Yeah, well, every time I go to Newfoundland, it's sunny, so I don't know what you're talking about. But it was a challenging evening. It was chilly, it was damp, but the setting was spectacular, as you say, up in the Buda Hills, overlooking the Danube,
overlooking the Parliament building.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's right. There it is. There. And,
so while we're outside freezing, there's Judit and Aniko inside having dessert and tea.
Exactly.
And then that night we continued the Chile adventure, and we took a tour of the Danube. Yeah,
that's right.
But it was spectacular to see.
Here it is.
To see the city lit up at night. It's wow. It is spectacular.
And it was for how long? It was an hour and a half long sightseeing cruise. Yeah. So we went on the top, so we didn't sit inside because the weather was just good enough to sit outside on deck and enjoying this view for an hour and a half. And we were served with a glass of champagne. So we were traveling in style.
Look at that. Isn't that incredible?
It really was incredible. Like it is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. There's no doubt about it. And to see it from the water side was even more spectacular because you're looking left and right. You just don't really know where to look. And we met the guy that was running for the mayor of Budapest that night too. So it was an all-around fun night.
Amazing. So then the next day, Allan, where did we go?
We went off to the embassy, right?
Embassy of Canada.
Yeah.
We had our first interview with Michael Cojocar. Yeah. He's an architect, and in fact, he designed this building.
That's right.
That's his building, his baby.
100%. And he told the story of his first job which is fun to listen to. And his first job in Budapest was he had to install an armored door, if you recall, in the Australian embassy. And from there, he became the builder of embassies.
And he also had a great explanation of the Soviet concrete building blocks, how the Soviets built all those, multi-floor buildings across the country.
I tell that story, actually, Judit, to a lot of people about how they build it. So we're not going to get into it here, but you'll have to watch that episode where he describes how the Soviet buildings were built. Yeah.
It was interesting. It was a very interesting conversation. He's a very interesting fellow for sure.
So then we moved on to, I can't remember the name of this particular place. Beautiful.
Harris Park. Harris with one R. With one R. That's the ballroom, and they have like private lounges. And we went to the cigar room. Remember, we did the next interview in the cigar room.
Yep.
All right, I'll bring up a picture of that.
He's the owner of Harris Park, Gergely Harris.
And here we are, GaleForceWins in the Buda Hills, in the beautiful city of Budapest. What a privilege it is to be here in this very special place. Gergely, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about where we are?
Hi everyone, so we are in Harris Park, which is originally built in 1885 as the headquarters of the local gun club. So this was a very important meeting point for the high society and aristocracy in the end of the 19th century. Even Franz Joseph and Sissi, the royal couple, was visiting the property multiple times, and they were opening the balls with their dance, according to the local storytelling features. And ever since, it's been working as an event center with a little bit of a pause in the 20th century over the socialist times. But now it's renewed. The renovation was done in 2019, and now it works as an event center and restaurant complex.
And Gergely, what kind of events would you hold here? What would be your typical client?
We're also playing in a business segment. We have a lot of business events like press conferences, gala events, other shows, and also we're tapping into the wedding market as we have a beautiful garden and outdoor features. We can host events until up to 200 people in the city center of Budapest, 10 minutes taxi ride from all the 5-star hotels.
It's a very different location than everywhere else for sure. So a company who wanted to do perhaps a retreat or a business meeting, strategic planning sessions, this would be a very unique offering, wouldn't it not?
Yes, we do have a lot of foreign groups in a way that they come for a few days to Budapest and they stay in one of the nice hotels at the riverside, and they do an off-site day and they go out into the nature, into our park, and then they have a lovely event out here and then inside in the ballroom.
Sergey, what brought you to this wonderful location? How did your journey get you to here?
The property was owned by the local municipality until 2005, and they were publishing an open tender, which my family's company won. So we got the buying rights, and we did the renovation of the building in approximately 10 years, which took an awful lot of time, and we had a lot of difficulties on the way, including the financial crisis in 2008, but we got out of it, and a few years ago we could finally open.
That's quite a journey, right? It must have been a passion project for your family's company to produce this and then offer it to the people of Budapest.
Indeed, and this is a very special place for us, not only because we're operating it, but we took part in the renovation. We've been here every day looking at every subcontractor's work and controlling everything in a way that we could have a result which is really fitting to our needs and our clients' needs.
Gergely, could you tell us how you find this location on a website if you were a company looking to hold an event?
Okay, it's very simple. It's harrispark.hu, but make sure that you only use single R, so HARIS park.hu.
It's an absolutely spectacular facility on the outside and on the inside. I want to thank you very much for the conversation here today and welcoming us to the beautiful Harris Park.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and I hope to see you guys soon.
And that's the cigar room where we did the interview with the president of the board of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hungary.
Yeah.
What an incredible location, Allan, this was.
Oh my God.
Incredible. Oh, yeah. And then look at the restaurant. I've never seen a staircase in a restaurant like that before.
Yeah.
And do you remember the floating island, Gerry?
Oh, I have that.
Oh my
Here we are.
Love
I got to
that.
show. Here we are. Look at this.
It's a dessert. The floating island is a dessert, is vanilla custard and what is it? It's almost like the white one.
Yeah, it's like a cotton candy.
Yeah.
It's like a cotton candy with creme anglaise being poured over these eggs, which are made of egg whites, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
I actually wasn't going to have any dessert, but the server described it to me, and I'm like, oh my God, yes, I'll try that. And you know what? Dessert fills me. This didn't fill me, but I felt so good having it after having eaten it.
That interview with the president of the chamber was fantastic. It certainly showed the opportunities that exist in Hungary. I really enjoyed that interview as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of Canadians will find that one interesting because the opportunities that exist, he outlines them all. So, sorry, Judith, for cutting you off.
No, I was going to say that he has a master's in political science, and I believe he studied some economy, so he's a economist as well, and he's very knowledgeable about the situation in not just in Hungary, but in the region, we call it CEE region, that's Central and Eastern Europe.
Right.
So he's very knowledgeable about the CEE region as well as Canada.
So
then it was off to the hockey rink.
Oh, that was fun, Gerry.
I really, really, really enjoyed it. The level of hockey that's being played there is incredible. But what was really interesting, Allan, we finally walk in the door. We get, one thing I'll show, we get our passes, and I laugh at this. My writing is obviously not the best. So Gerry Carew. So the story, when I went to Florida, my name was Gerry Rogers because my wife is Kelly Rogers. But anyway, Gerry Carew. But Allan, tell us a little bit about, look at this. We walk in and we meet this lady by the name of Michelle Cole, and she says, you guys look familiar. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, so Michelle Cole was one of our interviews we were about to do, but it turns out that Michelle Cole, Gerry and I were all at Mary Queen of Peace grade school together at kindergarten, grade 1, and we met I guess it'd be 20 years since kindergarten. Was Gerry 20 or 25? Yeah. I can't remember. But we met her again right there in Hungary. What a wonderful conversation that was.
So you were kindergartners together?
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Still don't want to believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So Allan, what a great setting we ended up in for this particular interview.
Yeah, 100%. That was in the VIP tent. And I tell you, they know how to do the VIP tent well at those hockey games. The food was fantastic. Everything was fantastic. The seats were fantastic. The game was fantastic. But most important, the conversation was just over the top. And then they just start pulling people in to talk to.
Yeah. So Michelle's husband is Don MacAdam. He's the development director of the Hungarian Ice Hockey Federation. He is from PEI. Michelle is from Newfoundland. So it was a fun Atlantic Canadian party.
Your daughter was an assistant. She was an assistant to me that day.
She is listening into the conversation.
Yeah.
So
that was great. And then Don suggests we meet some other people. And who are they, Gerry?
That's right.
Well, it was pretty interesting for me because he said, I've got it here somewhere. He goes, would you like to interview Mike Keenan? I believe is his name.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? One of the most iconic hockey coaches in the NHL. And here he is here, Mike Padino and Mike Keenan. And that's the actual interview right there. A little bit Well, I'm not a sports reporter, so I don't get nervous about very much at this stage of my life. But I was like, dear God, if I have to start, recounting both of these gentlemen's hockey careers, this man here, Mike Keenan, coached Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. So two of the most iconic hockey players in the entire world.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This is GaleForceWins, and we are here at an incredible hockey tournament in Budapest, Hungary. I can't believe we're here, and I can't believe I'm here with your Mike
Polino, yeah.
Mike Polino and
Mike Keenan.
Mike Keenan. So, gentlemen, what is it you're doing here for this tournament?
Well, we're actually coaching the national Italian team, and Mike and I are in the program leading up to the Olympics in 2026 in Italy. So this was our first encounter, our first opportunity to work with our team. First game we've coached with Team Italy. So it's an exciting time for those young players to be invited, first of all, to be part of the Italian program, the national program leading into the Olympics. And certainly it's been a great experience for us. I've been here for over a month. Mike's been here just less than a month. And we're trying to evaluate players and look at players and scout players and coach players in a very short period of time. So it's been challenging, but it's been interesting and a lot of fun for us. Mike can speak for himself, but he certainly has a history. Mike's dad was born in Italy, so we have to remind people of that.
Tell us about that.
Well, Mike and I are true-blooded Canadians, but my dad was born in Italy in 1931 and came over to Canada, and he just recently celebrated his 91st birthday, so he's pretty thrilled to have me back in his old country, and I'm pretty thrilled to be in a position to represent us and be a part of Team Italy.
As Canadians, what is it like to coach another team for another country? Give us a sense of what that's like.
Well, we've had that experience before. Mike and I coached in the National Hockey League for many, many years, and then we coached in Russia in the KHL. We were in Heartland, Russia, in the Ural Mountains where nobody could speak English, so we had to help ourselves to the Russian language to a point where we get by and go to a restaurant and order a meal. And then I went to China after that, and Michael stayed in Russia. So we've had some experience in foreign lands and coaching foreign teams. It's been an interesting few years for both of us in international competition. Of course, I coached Team Canada, and so did Michael on many occasions.
But yeah, it's a real honor to coach a national team for any country, and it's something we're very proud of to know that the Italian Federation is entrusting their high hopes and especially their Olympic dreams to Mike and myself, and they couldn't have picked a better coach than Mike, and I'm just really proud to be part of the team and looking forward to what we might accomplish over these next 4 years.
We are an inspirational podcast, and we talk a lot about inspiring. We talk to entrepreneurs. You both have coached at the highest level in this sport. Give us a sense of what it is like to motivate a young person to try and be the best they can be. I know that could be a 2-hour response.
No,
encapsulated in 30 seconds.
Well, it's a challenge for sure, but it's not unlike having very young players. I coached in Philadelphia my first year, and we had the youngest team in pro sport, not just in the National Hockey League. And we ended up winning the President's Trophy and going to the Stanley Cup Finals. A guy named Gretzky, Messier, Coffey, Fuhrer, Anderson, a bunch of Hall of Famers, Gerry Carew beat us in the finals that particular year. But no, to the point, we get a chance to work with young people, develop them, and try to have them understand what it takes to win and what it takes to move to a different level and a more, I think, stronger level in terms of their performance and what they can expect of themselves and of their teammates.
Yeah, just to pick up on that, I mean, these guys are so thrilled to have the opportunity to potentially represent Italy at the Olympics in their home country, and they're motivated. And now when they see that the opportunity they're getting to showcase themselves and to be taught and groomed by us, hopefully, and improve, they're pretty pumped to what awaits for them, and hopefully it is to wear the Italian colors at the Olympics in 2026.
Well, gentlemen, this is an absolute pleasure and a privilege for us, all the way from St. John's, Newfoundland, and Charlottetown, PEI. We're here doing some work.
I've spent time in both provinces for sure. I've been in Newfoundland teaching at the university there in the summers on several occasions, and I've been to PEI. So we are well versed in Canada, and I've lived in many provinces, and I've visited all the provinces and territories, and I think Mike has probably done the same thing. So we're proud to be Canadians, and we're particularly excited when we go to Newfoundland. We've been there many times. I really appreciate and enjoy the people there.
No, Mike's right. Newfoundland and PEI are two of my favorite places in the world, and I hope to get back there soon. But I've got some relatives, some great friends in PEI specifically, and I can make a shout out to them. Hopefully they get a chance to watch this podcast, and hopefully our friends back home in Ontario too as well.
Well, gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to be with you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
What brings you here?
Well, you know what? We are here at the request of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hungary. We actually started this podcast on Zoom, and this is an old Navy friend of mine, grew up in the East End of St. John's. We rekindled our relationship on Zoom, and it blew up for us, and we've been in Greece, Turks and Caicos, a lot of work on the Canadian Navy destroyers, interviewing sailors. So really proud of that work.
Yeah, you're with our military guys, and shout out to them. I can tell you a quick story about them.
Yes, we like that.
In 1987, we won the Canada Cup, and I was on Georgian Bay, and some military fellows ended up at a pub I was in up on the Midland, Ontario, and all of a sudden they said, "What are you doing here?" We just saw you play last night in Hamilton. So they were great people and a lot of fun to be with. So yeah, we appreciate their efforts and what they're contributing to the Canadian forces and to Canada overall.
Well, just before you talk, we were on the ship in HMCS Montreal, and two of us flew to Crete, and the young people, like 19 years of age, when we told them that Canada's proud of them, you could tell they got emotional. And I'm getting goosebumps now, but it's really important to tell those young sailors that we're proud of them. So
absolutely,
I really appreciate it. And a lot of people look up to the two of you, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And like Mike says, we are proud of the people who do represent Canada and stand up for us. And I mean, they're way more special than we are, that's for sure. And our hats go off to them, so thank you.
Of all places to bang into the finest hockey coaches in Canada, here in Budapest, Hungary. It's a great honor to be in front of both of you, and I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, GaleForce.
Well, you know what, Allan? Another interview that we did was with this lady here. The very first, well, you tell it because you interviewed her.
That was a remarkable interview. So this woman here was the very first woman to play hockey in Hungary. She played on the men's teams, and then she went on to build the Women's Hockey League in Hungary, which is the fastest growing sport in Hungary, is women's hockey. And she's also on the International Federation for Hockey, one of only two women. What an incredible interview. What an incredible person she is. Like, groundbreaking conversation. And she just, at the spur of the moment, came over and joined the interview. It was unbelievable. She followed Iron Mike Keenan, and she was very impressive. Yeah,
very much so.
And welcome to another wonderful edition of GaleForceWins. We are at a hockey game here in Budapest, and it's a game against Hungary, their national team, against the national team of Japan. And what an exciting event it is. Gerry and I have already been talking to Canadians that are over here that are really involved in hockey. Don MacAdam, of course, being one of them. Don MacAdam said if there's one person you need to speak to over and above those other NHL coaches that we spoke to here tonight, it's Susanna. Susanna, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. So my name is Susanna Kolbenhelyer. I'm originally from Hungary. So I was born here, I grew up here, and I still live here. I started to play when I was 12 because my brother played, and with that I was the first registered female hockey player in Hungary. So I played with the boys at the beginning, of course, because I was alone. Then some other girls started to play as well, so we could build one team, then later on a second team, and we also created the national team. We played the first World Championships in 99-2000 season, and that was a qualification event for the World Championships, and from that time, from now, then we have the national team of Hungary. And in 2019, the national team, the women's national team, got promoted here in Budapest to the A pool.
So explain to us how the pools work.
Yes, so we have an A pool with 10 teams, and then below that we have other pools with 6 teams, and so the lowest one right now is Division 3, and we have only 6 teams in the other divisions than the top division. And right now Hungary, with only around 1,000 players, is in A pool, and we could stay there. In 2021, we played the first World Championships, the A pool one. Because of COVID, we had to cancel the 2021, the 20 edition, and then we could play also in 2022, and we stayed there. So we're gonna play the next one again in 2023 in Canada.
Wow, in Canada. So you're also on the International Hockey Association?
Yes, so after I finished my career in 2011, I was elected to the International Ice Hockey Federation board, to the council, as one of the 2 female council members. And since 2012, I'm the leader of the women's committee, and since 1 year I also got the legal committee, so I have a lot to do.
Wow. So you were the first female hockey player in Hungary. You played on the boys' teams, then you grew the league to what it is now. It's advancing, the league is advancing. I've heard that women's hockey in Hungary is the fastest growing sport. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have more and more players. So when we started, we only had, let's say, 25-30 players. But now if you go to a U8 or U10 tournament, already more than 1/3 of the players are girls. So really Hungarian girls love hockey, so we have more and more players. Right now our under-18 national team is in Italy, for example, and they played against Slovakia, and Slovakia is also in A pool with their under-18 team, and we beat them today 5-0. So that's again a nice result. We've been with our under-18 team also in A pool in 2012. We played in A pool with the under-18 girls, and we could also stay there for 1 year, and then in 2014 we got relegated. But I think this year we have again quite good chances to go back.
Tell me, what would you say to young women that are looking at maybe choosing hockey as a sport right now, all around the world, not just in Hungary, but all around the world, because you truly are a groundbreaker in this sport? What would you say to them?
I truly think that hockey is the best sport in the world. It's so combinative. You have to be fast. You have to think very fast. You have to use your feet and your hands at the same time, but doing totally different things. So I would even suggest parents to bring their kids to play hockey, because with that they could learn so much, not about only sports, but about other things, because it's so complex.
Right. Well, what a wonderful conversation here on GaleForceWins with a woman who is breaking the ground for many other women to come behind. Thank you very much for being in conversation.
Thank you very much.
So let's keep moving on. We're on November 10th here now.
Yeah, so we started off at St. Stephen's Hall in the Buda Castle, and that's a newly renovated room with 24-karat gold everywhere, and they just renovated the way it was before. So I think it's the 19th century that it was built, or maybe even maybe even earlier than that. You have to watch the episode.
Isn't that stunning?
It was an impressive room for sure. I think you took a seat in one of the thrones there, didn't you, Gerry, at that point?
Well, I tried, but these seats are not to be sat in.
Yeah. Lesson learned.
So we had our next interviewee, who he is a Canadian guy named Nick Tonelli. Yeah. And Nick was born and raised in Canada, and then when he was 14, I believe, his family moved back to Hungary. So he was talking about the challenges as a child, like moving into between countries and with this mixed identity of being Canadian and Hungarian, being Canadian in Hungary but Hungarian in Canada. That's an interesting story for sure.
It was a great story. He grew up in the suburbs north of Toronto, and he's had quite an interesting life. And that's an episode worth listening to, because that guy grabs life by the tail for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then we moved on.
You went to the synagogue, and you met the the director of the synagogue.
I'm not sure what his role was. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that he was giving tours of the synagogue, but it was in a remarkable place and steeped in history, and I mean, just beautiful to be inside. It was a pretty remarkable building for sure. Yeah, good
Incredible.
pictures there, Gerry.
Here we are inside in the Great Synagogue Dohány. It was built in the second half of the 19th century, only within 5 years. It was extremely important for the community to have the greatest synagogue. Synagoga, it means the house of gathering together, and it was only in rooms that the 4,000 people from the Jewish past community gathered together in 33 rooms, and they decided at that time to give a lot of money. The names that you can see are private names, which mean that those people paid an eternal place in the synagogue. They gave as much money as worth an apartment, for example, at that time. Women are sitting on the sides now, but originally when it was built, women were sitting upstairs, divided from men, and the offices are held in front of us, where you can see the Holy of the Holy. It's behind the curtain. It's very important that only the rabbin can open it, and only several times a year. The lecture of the Torah is happening in the front, and it's very interesting because we have 2 pulpits, which is not common at all in the synagogues. But since we are in a Christian world and the Neolog faith, it means that Jewish have an assimilation with the Christian people of Budapest and of Hungary. Then you have the rabbin going up there and telling the words for the Saturday event. You have 2, because at one moment of the synagogue, one was for the one speaking in Yiddish, so a German-like language, and the other one was for the rabbin speaking in Hungarian. One unique thing in the synagogue, this is an organ which actually is outside the synagogue, because when we see the construction of the synagogue traditionally, above the Holy of the Holy, we have normally the end of the synagogue. You have the place for the rabbi and the place for the people who come, and this one is already outside the synagogue. But since it was assimilation, it was very important to have an organ as well as instrument of music, but a Christian lady plays, because it's forbidden to play an instrument of music or to work on Saturdays. At the inauguration, Camille Saint-Saëns and Franz Liszt were here, and they were playing a beautiful song, a beautiful music for the inauguration of 1859. The stars, which we could see above the entrance, also are above the letters showing the day of the construction and the date of the construction. You can have space for 2,600 people, plus the children, which means a bit more than 3,000 people. Women above, children under 12, they can go anywhere. Above 12, they have to join the men's or the women's place. They used real gold for the decoration, so it's extremely valuable. And at time when it was reconstructed in the 1990s, it took 5 years for the renovation, just like the time of construction. It's exactly just like it used to be before, and we are extremely proud of it, and we welcome you in Budapest in the Dohány Great Synagogue. GaleForceWins.
So then we moved on.
Exactly. We went to the sports bar, the Champs Bar. We interviewed 2 hockey players. One is Hungarian who lived and played hockey in Canada, and the other one is a Canadian hockey player who is living and playing in Hungary. What an interesting combination, right? What an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so as a hockey fan, we made the mistake of putting me in the chair to do the interviews. And of course, as I was geeking out, this gentleman, what was his name again, Judit?
Super Levente.
Super Levente. He is a goalie. And of course, I had to ask questions about goalies. So for all of my hockey buddies that are watching this, I did geek out. Allan was sending notes, behind the camera. Come on, move on. Get back to the topic at hand. But I'm proud to say that I delved in a little bit to, goalies thinking and stuff like that. But again, what an incredible setting. Just look at that. Just get a picture of the other gentleman. Yep. Go ahead, Allan.
And what can't be seen there is that the gentleman that we were interviewing, his picture's on the wall in the Hall of Fame up around the corner from where we were shooting. So there you go.
He's the first Hungarian goalie to make it to North American hockey, right?
100%.
Not this guy. This guy's playing currently.
Yeah, his name is Phil Kish.
Phil Kish.
Young kid from Brampton, living in Budapest and absolutely loving it.
So now we're moving on. This
to the Ruin Bar.
Yeah, let's show the Ruin Bar. Do I have? Well, I don't. This is outside the Ruin Bar.
Yeah,
this is outside the Ruin Bar,
and it's in downtown Budapest.
Just explain, Judith, what a Ruin Bar. Here's the Ruin Bar here. So I'll quickly play that. Isn't that something?
So this is a building that has not been renovated ever since it's been built by the Soviets during the communism. So it's a communist building, but it's never been renovated, and that's the uniqueness of the place. So people can go there and do graffitis, and it's an actual building where there were homes in it. But obviously, it's been bought by, I think it's the city of Budapest bought it, and then they sold the property, and they bought it, and they made it's a so-called Ruin Bar, and the Ruin Bar phenomenon, if you will, it's coming out of Hungary.
Yeah. Well, and just I'm showing right now, we're going to show this. I'll play this after I edit it. But these gentlemen are from the UK, from England, and the gentleman here in the white lost his phone. And they go on to give their experience from the night before. And this is 2:56 p.m. You can see the time stamp on it. And they were still a little bit under the weather. So that'll let you know a little bit about what goes on in a Ruin Bar. Well, here we are in front of a Ruin Bar. I don't know what a Ruin Bar is, but we met 4 gentlemen. We're in a very interesting spot here doing an interview. We met 4 gentlemen from England.
Wolverhampton.
All the same place?
Yeah.
Yep. So just state your name and where you're from.
I'm Tom and I'm from Wolverhampton.
Jack O'Regan, Wolverhampton. Lewis, Wolverhampton. Joe Bradbury, striker. I was a striker, as I tell you, and I played for 10 years and never scored a goal. So anyone watching this in England knows how bad a soccer player I am. Football, sorry. So guys, just tell us, what is a ruin bar?
A ruin bar? We don't actually know. We just know it's a bar with a lot of different rooms, decent music and good drink. And yeah, tell me, Jack.
No, it's basically an outside bar, but it's kind of there's loads of different rooms. It's very cheap. Well, it's not. Well, I don't think it's
compared
cheap
to England.
compared to England.
Compared
anyway.
to England, it's cheap.
But no, it's good. It's good.
Why is it called a ruin bar?
I believe that's because it's got different rooms and you can buy different it's rooms. You can buy each room. Each room has a different niche. It has different drinks you can buy in each area, and each little section plays different music.
So it's called a ruin bar, and I think you have a better definition of why it's called a ruin bar. What do you think?
You get ruined in a ruin bar, financially and physically and mentally.
You lose phone.
You lose your phone.
And
you had a good night. Yeah.
Dignity. You ruin everything.
Yeah.
So how's Budapest treating you guys?
Oh, it's great. We've only been here 2 days, but actually, yeah, it's great for us, not for him. He's spent £150 in a taxi last night. They got him nowhere. Lost his phone, but for us, we love it. Great city.
From what we remember so far.
So are you guys familiar? There's an app here called Bolt. Did you use that?
Yeah, they've just used it.
And you still lost £150 in a Bolt?
No, it wasn't a Bolt.
It fell out of your pocket, or did it go to the Bolt?
It was a private taxi.
Bolt app. Yeah. So let's just summarize in a couple of words what your experience has been.
Very good.
Yeah.
A movie.
What's the highlight of Budapest for you?
Losing my phone.
And for you, what's the highlight?
The ruin bar. It's got to be this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. GaleForceWins on site at a ruin bar called
Simplaket, and I will tell you why it's ruined, because it had been ruined during the war, and ever since it hasn't been restored as apartment but at bars.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in.
We're gonna have to put subtitles under that, boys. Yeah, that was
So it's an actual bar. There's a DJ and dancing and drinking, dancing. It's super fun. It's super fun.
It was a very interesting thing for sure, and as you say, it has inspired similar things around the globe. So a ruin bar is an actual thing, right? It's a very cool thing. And then we went from that complicated, eclectic, bohemian ruin bar to
the polar opposite.
To the
polar opposite. It's a fancy. It's called Matild Palace. It's a beautiful restaurant. It's a 5-star restaurant. It's a cafe and cabaret, actually, and that they operating a cafe and cabaret in the main floor. And then we just went up to do the interview with me on the top floor. That's the rooftop bar we are currently in, and that's where we did my interview.
Yeah, when we did the interview, these doors here that you see behind, we opened them up, and that's, which bridge is that behind? Judith, which bridge is that?
Liberty. Elizabeth Bridge. Yes, you're right.
Elizabeth Bridge, yeah.
So the doors are open there. Alan, I got to tell you, like we've, as people can see, in an incredible number of locations. There's something so enchanting about this particular experience for me.
It's hard to describe it, and even the pictures don't do it 100% justice, but that was a spectacular location. We were basically at top of the city, overlooking in this incredibly high-end bar, and it was lovely. It was really quite something. And in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. These are the type of people that can easily be found here, and they told the story of Hungary in a very beautiful and inviting way. You must have walked into the chamber on day one and saw nothing but opportunity to connect both countries. Tell me about that experience.
Judy, you excelled in picking that location. And let's just say it happened to be your son's 19th birthday that day.
Oh, that's right.
It was Tom's 19th birthday, yep.
what a place. Just I've had a lot of nice birthdays, but I can't say I've ever spent a birthday in Budapest, particularly my 19th.
I didn't realize Tom was so tall. I'm 6'1", so I'm not sure how tall he is.
6'1" in your dreams. Anyway.
So, Judith, that was a wonderful interview we had with you. Certainly a recap. I'd encourage people to watch that. It was really quite spectacular.
So we arrived to the last interview of the day, and which was with Grant. Grant is the chief of staff for the CEO of KPMG in Hungary. And they just moved as a family from Singapore to Budapest. They originally from Calgary. And they moved to Singapore, then from Singapore to Budapest. And his story is fascinating, how the kids, they adjusted to the situation and to the move, and then adapting to yet another culture, which is obviously culture shock from the Hungarian culture, from the Singapore culture. That was fun.
Yeah. It really was. And it was nice for him to invite us into his home. That is a well-traveled family from Calgary to Baltimore to Singapore to Budapest. And I don't think their adventure is over yet. They seem to clearly be making a big impact everywhere they go, and certainly introducing their children to this global lifestyle, which is really impressive.
Yeah, the children are actually in the back there. We offered to sit on the couch, but they wanted to stay in the back. So we could have potentially interviewed them, I guess, but they were intrigued by what we were doing.
And then,
your last day was Saturday. Saturday, we were ready for the lobster dinner.
And that was a highlight of the whole thing, right? I mean, what an event. Lobsters flown over from Atlantic Canada. And I mean, it was a true black tie 5-star event right at the Intercontinental.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had almost 300 people. Most of them are business leaders, business people, CEOs, managers. A lot of them are expat CEOs, so from abroad, but a lot of Hungarian as well. And we had the interview done with Nicole. Nicole is Grant's wife, who we just interviewed the night before, but because Nicole is traveling a lot around the world, and it was very hard. That was our only shot to catch her. So she was so kind to do the interview right before the lobster, hence the, the beautiful dresses.
Yeah. Yeah, Nicole had flown in that morning, as I recall.
That's right. From Washington, D.C. That's right.
She had flown in that morning, got sort of saw the family, and then came out to the event, did an interview, a real rock star. Unbelievable. Yeah.
She is a role model for sure for a lot of women.
100%. And that was, sadly, Gerry and I were flying very early the next day. We had to bolt, but to use a PEI expression, somebody else ate my lobster. I'm not sure of that.
Well, we did manage, Alan, to spend enough time to get a few interviews, but it was a very, very, very busy location. So we'll show a few of those interviews from the event. And I know, Judith, you were incredibly busy trying to navigate through all of that. And it's one of the most elegant events that I've ever seen. Just beautiful. Here's the bagpipers going in. So I got a shot of that. Yeah. You're right, Alan. We had a very, very, very early flight the next morning.
Yeah.
Just show this. Look, this is the setting. What an incredible setting for this.
Yeah, that was a really high-end event, Judith. And it's done every year. Is that right?
That's right. And that was the 28th lobster dinner that the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hungary organized.
Well, that's fantastic. Again, right, the whole purpose of our trip was to kind of showcase Hungary for business and for personal travel. And boy, the Chamber's doing incredible work over there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Seems surreal that we were actually there.
Oh, here we are. GaleForceWins is on location in the Intercontinental Hotel in downtown Budapest for the annual Chamber of Commerce lobster event right here. So these are Canadian companies, Hungarian companies coming together, talking about doing business in Hungary. And I want to tell you what a great place it is to do business. Hungary is a little bit misunderstood, but you should try to get to understand it because this is a great place to be. So here we are, GaleForceWins, on location for the famous lobster event in Budapest, Hungary, with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. I've got the great privilege to be in conversation with a company here, Aranybástya Palinka.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why Canada is so important to you, why you're at this event.
Yes, because the palinka as a spirit is one of the. It's a special Hungarian spirit. It means that we can make it. We can produce it only 100% fruit without any additives.
Is that right?
Yes, yes. This is the basic origin of this spirit.
So is Palinka a traditional Hungarian drink? I'll go to you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely, yes.
It's consumed with most meals, or how's it consumed?
Oh, yeah. We are using only Hungarian fruits for it, mainly which is originally come from Hungary, and yeah. So
now, many Canadians probably wouldn't have tried Palinka. What should you tell them?
Maybe try it. You should try it, and you will love it. I think so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Here we are, GaleForceWins. Again, we're in the middle of the lobster event with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. A lot of excitement around this particular booth. Chocolate jam. Tell us a little bit about the product.
These are all handmade chocolate, and we make it with love, and we're really happy to see that people are enjoying it. And we would like to have as many people as possible who can try and then later enjoy it.
Now, a lot of Canadians might not know about this product. What would you tell them about this product?
To the Canadians.
Yeah, what would you tell a Canadian about this product?
That I love to ski in Canada, so if they come here, I will show them our lovely chocolate, and maybe they can take some home for the lovely ski season.
And these are made with love, correct?
Made with love, with the absolute premium category of chocolate, and we tend not to use many sugar, and just the really good quality chocolate from Switzerland and Belgium mainly, and the fruits which we are using are 100% fruit, no sugar added, and it's all coming from Italy.
Wow, what a great product. I have to tell you,
please try.
Canadians should try this product. They're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Try. Please enjoy.
And here we are, another great conversation in the middle of the event here tonight. What a night we're having. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you're doing?
Okay, first of all, this is my first time here ever, and I'm really, really excited. And not just because this is a great event, but because the Canadian government is supporting SOS Children's Villages Hungary, and right now we are supporting 200 people who are coming from Ukraine, who are refugees. Some of them are kids, some of them are even disabled children or disabled families, and we can make this program to make a better life for them because the Canadian government gave us enough money to do this. So this is the part of the reason why I'm here, because I wanted to say thank you to everyone. And part of the income which comes here today is come and support us again, so we can continue this amazing program.
So what a wonderful service you're doing, a contribution that you're making. I'm so glad that Canada can be a small part of that. I hope you have great results here tonight in raising money for this very, very valuable cause, and I wish you very much success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and cross your fingers for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at that.
That's our last Aussie. You know, it's not a selfie, it's an Aussie.
What's an Aussie? Aussie. An Aussie. I never heard that term before.
Because it's not a selfie, it's us. It's about us, so it's an Aussie.
Judit, overall, I mean, what a wonderful adventure it was, and there's no doubt about it. Hungary is open for business. I think more people need to get over there and touch it and feel it, and you know, even for just personal travel. I can tell you that for Gerry and I, easy commute to get there, you know, through Toronto into Europe and then into to Budapest. And then once you're there, moving around the city, incredibly easy. There's all kinds of car share applications that you can move around the city rapidly, very reasonably priced. The food is fantastic, and again, very reasonably priced. But the city is walkable, it's enjoyable. It seems like every corner there's something else to see. To me, it's the type of city that requires certainly more than a week to explore, and you don't get bored when you're there. It's I can't wait to get back.
And you definitely didn't seem to have a language barrier, right? It was easy to navigate, to talk to people.
Very, very easy. Very easy.
Yeah, no, I was struck by the beauty, the people, the food, the entire country. It's obvious, Judit, that it's open for business. I think what's really interesting, listening to a lot of the interviews, and I think the people that watch those interviews, if you're interested in doing business in Hungary, people are ready to do business, and it's still emerging, even though it was 30 years since the communist regime. My sense is that it's still emerging, but everybody is got this capitalistic mode about them and just professional. And again, yeah, navigating around in English was a breeze. So just thank you, Judit, for having us. I think this, what we did here today, I've really enjoyed it. It's hard to believe, Allan, that we did so much in such a short period of time. But I think it's going to position for anyone who wants to watch all these interviews a little bit of, you know, where we were, what we did.
Yep. Every interview is worth watching, and every interview brings a different lens on Hungary. So it's really worth watching the entire series to get a great perspective of what that country has to offer. And my final pitch to it all was, you got to go visit it. You got to go to that place and meet the people and see the sights and taste the food, because it's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it was a real pleasure to have you guys. And I did my best to showcase the country and Budapest specifically. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for us.
Thank you for tuning in to GaleForceWins. That's GaleForceWins, WINS.com.